Everyone. Today this is the third chapter of how to play chess, and today we will be talking about the Morra, or the basic principles of the game of chess. Make sure to watch chapter 2 and chapter 1 also on my channel. Um, yeah. So what is the Morra? What you're supposed to do, well, what people say is to first take control of the center. You see, in the center is like the most like important, let's say, squares of the game. And if you can take control of the center, try to take control of the squares outside of the center, and so on. So that's why usually people play the this pawn on e2. Also, these are the coordinates. If something is if a piece is on e, see it's on the e file, and the second rank, you could see the numbers and the letters, that means the pawn is on e2. So I move the pawn from e2 to e4, and if you start playing chess games, then you'll start seeing that many people play this move or this move, uh, because it takes control of the center. So that's why I'll be showing for now e4. Then usually what black plays is e5. So the pawn on e7 to e5, or c5 or d5, whatever what takes control of the center. Um, so that's the first principle, you could say, like rule of the Morra. Um, so as you can see, just take control of the center. What That's what black is doing. Now, obviously, we will try to kill this pawn, like capture this pawn, because so you could take away. So then you would have the center, and black doesn't have any control. And here, usually, black just defends the pawn, the knight. So if I take with the knight, then he takes my knight back, and that's not good. So because the knight is more worth than a pawn. You see, a knight is 3 points, and a pawn is 1. Um, Now that I'm already talking about points, I will tell you what points are. So a pawn is 1 point, as I already said. Bishop and knights are 3 points. A rook is 5 points. A queen is what's it called? 9 points. And no. And the king is basically the game, like, can really capture a king, or your king can get captured, as we already talked about in the last video, chapter 2, how to play chess. So yeah, so here he just defends the pawn, because you want to keep the tension in the center. Then you could play the bishop here. Remember again. Oh yeah, so the second rule of the Morra is to develop your pieces. You see, can't really go d4. Actually, you can, but it's a gambit, so a good one actually. Sometimes played Danish gambit. Anyways, for now, we just keep it simple. Um, so the second rule is to develop your pieces. What does that mean? To make your piece. See, the knight on g1. See, the rank 1 file G um, isn't really doing much. It's not doing much on that square. That's why you move it into more into the center. So it also controls a little of the center, and it has some other possibilities. For example, if somebody moves his queen here, to just take simple. I'll show you. And keeps the tension as I already said. Um, so develop your pieces. Make sure that your pieces get more active. Um, then the third rule of the Morra is the castle. As I already said, talked about this in the first video. Castling brings your king to safety and safe from the center, because in the center is usually where like it's the more like um is the more dangerous place, I could say. So that's why you should always take control of the center, because if for example I play here and plays here, these are bad moves because they don't do anything at the edge. Like this won't, as you can see from the evaluation bar, um, it's not giving a good position for white. And if you keep on going like this, then at a point, black will be having the center and they can strike open, and you see their pieces are more developed. They can threaten checkmate. You can stop it, but anyways, they can win pieces maybe if you go on. So that's why the more says you should take control of center and develop. And then castling, as I already said, brings your king to safety. And after this, then usually you just go on. I mean, after black castles, could also castle the other way around. Then you usually then go for the center. As you can see, d3, trying to stabilize the center pawn on e4, and h6 to stop this bishop from developing. So those are like the main plans in the game of chess for the opening. So the beginning of the game. Um, so that's the Morra. Now we'll move on to middle games. So if we go on, um, let's see. Don't know. I mean, just gonna play something. I think we've reached the middle game. So in the middle game, sorry, the your plan is to try to take over the center or attack the king. In this case, it's not possible, but for example, here you play rook a d1 because two rooks can go, so that's why you should also see the square from where the rook was going. Rook a d1 because to strike in the center with d4, like so that you have the center then, because this e5 pawn could just take, yeah, so d4 just takes over the center. Bishop e6 for example, black has a slight advantage. I mean, no, not anymore. um, so here the computer says bishop takes b6. I mean, you could do that. Anyways, so in the middle game, as I already said, your plan is to, if your opponent has weaknesses, um, plan is to like focus on the weaknesses. For example, I will show you. e4, e5, same moves. Here I could also play the knight c3, already protecting the pawn, and if knight f6, f4. If he takes, it's not a good thing. Um, oh yeah, sorry, it's my turn. Then goes here, then goes here. So as you can see, we already have the center completely. We're already developed proper. Sorry, wrong arrow. We're. This is black's weakness, the f4 pawn. I Black can't really defend it. I mean, g5 +2 advantage for white. Already +1. Later there are even plans like this if you want. I mean, what I usually do is just uh, bishop c4 castles, following the Morra, and then based on what black plays, you get it from then. You just like play like that. So, like for example, that really makes sense what I'm saying. Then, if he plays d6, then then you could go bishop b5 or bishop takes f4, as I was already saying, wins. I just look at that. So this is what happens if you have the center, all your pieces are developed. You can see black has not moved any of his pieces except for this knight. And this knight is not doing anything. I mean, a d takes e5, that won't do anything. In fact, if you think, okay, what um, um, even d takes e5 back isn't really that bad. I mean, you do lose like ton of your advantage, but just take back. So now our pieces are very active. We have a lot of threats. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So this is what happens again. And if there are weaknesses, you should target them. So, for example, um, good. If he plays, sorry, that is the end of this one. Yeah. So here taking the c5 pawn, not good. Sacrifice, but these two pawns are very weak. Easily just e6, threatening this pawn. Um, Another example, um, if, for example, now d4, just showing for the people who are confused. The Leningrad variation is not good. Look at this diagonal. This is horrible. Just bishop f4, castles, queen b3. Black's king side is very weak. As you can see, c5 and it's a check, discover check. For people who don't know what that is, it's a if you move a piece, but there's a piece behind it, which is giving a check to a king. If you move that piece, that's called a discover check. Usually, you win a piece because, like, if there were to be a rook here on b6, then you'd win the rook because this pawn is attacking the rook. Sorry, on d6, you have to win the rook because the pawn is attacking the rook. I mean, you could go here, but there are other examples. Yeah, so that's about the middle game. Remember, Morra, put your pawns in the center, like develop your pieces to the center. Remember, like don't uh, don't do this. Should always do it closer to the center because knights on the rim are dim. That's what I've learned. Anyways, and then just castle. Develop all your pieces, castle. Get ready to attack the king side if it's weak. Um, Try to attack the weaknesses in your opponent's position. Um, if your opponent blunder a piece, then just take it, I guess. Um, or take over a side, like for example, if you have like a massive storm of pawns on the queen side, um, then you should be more focused on that side of the board. Um, then I guess that's it for the middle game. And the end game, on the other hand, is where the end game is where there are very less pieces. So for this, I will do setup position. So here, if uh, wait a minute, my father got me a glass of water. So end game is where there are very less pieces on the board. For example, oh, this position, it's a drawn position because white can't really do anything, black can't do anything. There are no weaknesses and all they can target. But endgames are like positions you have to study, like by heart. Then, so for example, um, I will show you a simple mate. So you'll have to buy hard this position with white. You have to buy out how to checkmate the black king because you can't just do random moves. Otherwise, the the king might. I mean, the game might end in a 50 move rule. Make sure not to stalemate. This is stalemate. And if you by accident just checkmate your opponent, like for example, just giving random checks, it's better not to do that and just learn the what's it called, the checkmate. The checkmate is just here. Um, if um, should always make sure that the queen is like attacking. Like if the queen were to be a knight, then you should give checks, but it's not a check. So now the king is forced to go here, and then this faster way checkmate. And you should make sure that it's stuck on a file or a rank, and then you bring the king. So these kind of positions you should buy hard. Also buy hard the pawn endgame is very important. for example. Should buy out when it's a draw and when it's not a draw. For example, this position, hold on, this position is a draw. I mean, nothing like King e7 blunder because of opposition. We learned that in another video. Sorry, but just King f6. I mean, this position is a draw due to see the king can't do anything. If you give this pawn check, then it goes in front. But on the other hand, if this king were to be on a square here, sorry, then it wasn't. Then you win. See, sorry, actually you don't. Wait, I meant this one is also draw. Same thing. Yeah, okay. This one is lost. What? Oh, I keep on miscalculating. You know what? Just gonna keep it simple. We're gonna learn this in another video. It's called opposition. So what you have to try to do is should try. This is winning. This is winning for white for sure. Um, sorry, I'm just pointing. Can you see the mouse? Like yeah. So because you have to try to take a shield, like to protect your pawn. It goes here, push, it goes here, then you push, then you push your king. So in these kind of positions, you should try to bring your king to um, the let's say if the pawn were to be on the second or seventh rank. So for black, then it'll be second. Then the squares right next to it, or d8 and b8, b7 and d7 in this case. Then you should it's black's move now. Now there's c6. You should try to bring your king here before the black king. And if your king is already in front of the pawn, then it's a draw. But I mean, if your king is already in front of the pawn, then it's a win. But it also depends on the place where the black king is. So we learned this in another video. So that was it. Today we learned about what the main ideas are in the opening, the begin phase of the game, and the middle game. You can already hear from the name that it's a phase in the middle of the game. Not all games finish in the middle. End game. There are also a few games which finish, not a few, actually a lot, but most of them, yeah, most of them finish in the middle game. Many of them also in the end game, and there are even games which finish in the opening. For example, if you were to be white with the white pieces, you checkmated, you lost. So that's why you should always go according to the Morra gambit. I mean, Morra, let's call it the principles. Take control of the center, develop your pieces. Sorry, and then just castle. If your opponent has weaknesses, target those. What else? Yeah, and if the king is weak, should attack it. Sometimes there's even long theory like really long. For example, I'll show you. As you can see, white is just playing like they say in Morra. His castles. Um, Personally, I like Yugoslav attack more. It's a Sicilian term. Um, it's where you put your bishop on c4, later to b3 to avoid queen b6 threats because your bishop isn't defended yet. And then you go queen d2, castle, stops if your opponent is an accelerated dragon player, so it doesn't play d6. Knight plays knight c6 first before d6. Um, so like the move when d6 is played. Then stops that. Um, have an attack. You have a diagonal on the king. So then you have to take with the edge pawn usually. Um, but then you give black some more tempo. Um, don't have to pay attention to this. Just explaining stuff. So as you can see, the Sicilian is a opening played by many players, and this is just a part of the Sicilian. There are also many others. Taimonov, Najdorf, even a Magnus Sicilian. Magnus Carlsen is a very good player. He's been world champion from 2013 to 2023, for 10 years. Um, Later he said, "Okay, I don't want to be world champion anymore." Gave up his title. As you can see, this is how like a normal game should look like. Or if your opponent plays c5, c5 is just to make sure that you can play d4. Still play d4 as a gambit, but don't pay attention to that now. For now, yeah. So um, c5, you might think, hey, but why is my opponent doing this? That means I probably have an advantage. Well, your opponent is actually making uh like a see, this is like a different approach. So you don't like put any pawns in the center, but you actually do it with the pieces. You control the center with the pieces. Also, you can create some attacks. b5 after knight takes e4. This rook c8, b5. Sacrifice can take. I'm sure you guys can't see anything. Sorry because of all the arrows. Um, but so now I hope you guys know like all the basic like the rules, like what you're supposed to follow in the opening and the um, middle game. And that is it for today. Um, Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.